Morning, learning a mimer from the Alter Rebbe Likuti Torah. This mimer is associated with this time, with Bein HaMitzorim, especially for Bein HaMitzorim. Although this mimer was said in Chanukah, but it's mentioned here because of the time, Bein HaMitzorim. So the mimer is speaking about pasuk in Tilim, Tilim Lamed, Tilim chapter 30. It says, Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habis, Orim Chashem Kidilisoni, V'losimachtu Oiveli. That's the pasuk we're going to speak about. In general, it will discuss the greatness, the uniqueness of the souls of angels, and the greatness of the song of souls over the song of the angels, that are not comprised, not like angels. Regular neshama is comprised of nefesh and guf, soul and body, neshamas that were enclosed in a physical body. The neshamas, before they come down, they don't have a body, they don't have a vessel that contains them, that limits them, and therefore their singing is not being heard. And that's the reason why the Torah was given to neshamas Yisrael. The neshamas Yisrael, so when they descend and they come down to be enclosed in a physical body, they have the capability to feel, to accomplish the purpose of creation, which is a dwelling place down here. So let's see. Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habis, V'lo simachtu li. V'lo simachtu oiveli. As I said, it's chapter 30, until Psalm chapter 30. So this Mizmor was said by David HaMelech about the inauguration of the Beis HaMikdash. Okay? The moment that the Beis HaMikdash was built, there was no more joy on the other side. The enemies were not joyful anymore, because they always try to stop the building of the Beis HaMikdash. So we need to explain who is the enemies of Israel that David is directing his words to, and why they were not happy, why the simcha ceased. In the time of creation, the serving angels complained to Hashem. And they say, why would you bother with the human beings? Why do you even remember them? Why do you want to give them the Torah? The time of Matan Torah, the time that we, Am Yisrael, said we will do before we will hear. Hoidu, meaning they admitted that this is the right thing, they accepted. The Gemara in Shabbos Peichet speaks about it. B'shas chet, at the time of sin, at the time of the golden calf, b'shas chet ha'egel, samchu shenimtza k'divrem. Then they were happy. They said to Hashem, I told you. At the time of Matan Torah, they said, wow, great, beautiful. But then, when they saw the golden calf, they said, God, I told you. Right. They're happy. They're happy that Shenim Tzokadivrayim, that what they said came true.
But the Jews screwed up.
Yeah. Shbe'oid mem yom achar Matan Torah. 40 days after Matan Torah, even though the time of Matan Torah, it says that the relationship of the Jews to Hashem was face to face, The whole turned around. Afach libum, the heart turned and changed so much, so extreme. Ach b'shas ma'isa mishkan, oh wasimchos. Now it continues. It says in the time of the building of the Mishkan, the joy of the angels ceased. But why they were happy? Because they said, they can tell Hashem, we told you, right? But then the Jews are building the Mishkan.
Right.
So they're stuck. No, they're not happy anymore. They're not the winners, so to speak.
Right.
While building the Mishkan atones for the golden calf.
Right.
And that's why there was gold in the Mishkan to atone for the golden calf, for the sin of the golden calf. So when we say Mizmor Shir Chanukas Habis, that you did not make my enemies sameach, happy, seemingly David HaMelech is referring to the angels. These are the angels shekitrigu, that they were like the prosecutors, saying all the negative. So you see, the building of the Beis HaMikdash is one thing of Maisa Mishkan, of the sanctuary that was built in Mitzrayim. So if the Mishkan caused the angels' simcha to cease, right? So the Mikdash did the same thing. Same way that the Mishkan in the desert caused the simcha to stop, because, hey, what are you going to say now?
Yeah.
The building of the Beis HaMikdash had the same effect. So we learned that oivai, my enemies, that David HaMelech is referring to, is the Malachim. But that's like a proof. The Mishkan and the building of Beis HaMikdash, the Torah, that the Jews were deserving for the Torah. Golden calf was proof to them. You see, they're not deserving for the Torah. The building of the Mishkan was a proof that they are deserving. It says, if you look deep, what was the claim of the angels? They said we are higher than the neshamis, than human beings. And the tshuva to them, the answer to them, no, you're not. That's really what it boils down to. We are higher, therefore the Torah should stay here. And the response ultimately is, you are not. The Jewish people are higher than you, and therefore they will receive the Torah. So the Alter Rebbe says, let's understand the Pnimius, innerly, why they thought they're higher. And why Hashem answered that we are higher. So to understand it, you have to understand what is Malachim, what is Neshamis. Neshamis, when we say Neshamis, is referring to human beings. It says we found that angels say Shira. Remember the famous story with Yaakov and the angel? The angel says, I want to go back.
Yeah.
I need to go, but Yaakov is not letting him. So why do you need to go? He said, I have to say Shira. It's my shift.
Yeah.
He told him, not letting you go until you bless me. And he calls him Yisrael.
Right.
So he said, Alter Rebbe tells us, we found that Malachim say Shira. They sing.
Right.
But where do we find that human beings say Shira to Hashem? He said the truth is, the Rebbe says that the Neshamas say Shira all the time, meaning us. We say Shira all the time. Because they always have highs and lows, ups and downs. It's written in Yeshaya, every month they have a special time. They go to, there's Aliyah on Shabbos to the Neshamas, there's Aliyah on Chodesh Chodesh to the Neshama. ואחר כך חוזרים לגן עדן התחתון. חוזרים מסלם לגן עדן העליון. So they go from the Gan Eden Tachton, and from the lower Gan Eden they ascend to the higher Gan Eden. How is the elevation takes place to Gan Eden, from Gan Eden to the upper Gan Eden? So all the aliyahs are happening through shir, through song. This is the Gemara in Shabbos, Nun Aleph. It speaks about Bal Hashir, Kamvua B'Likuti Amorim Agod. El Shalem Motzinu for Ashkem V'Mikro. It says, we don't find in the Torah where it describes the singing of the souls, Shiras and Neshamis. But the Rebbe tells us it's not described, not because they're not saying the song, they are saying it all the time. And he says that in Neshamis in Gan Eden, they always go from one level to the next. As the rabbis said in the Gemara in Bochis 64, that Talmidei Chacham en la menucha, that the Talmidei Chacham, the rabbis have no rest, sages have no rest, and they go Yelchu Michael, they go from level to level even after they pass away, right? And as I've just mentioned before, the pasuk in Yeshaya V'ayom Midei Chodesh B'Chodshei, and every Chodesh, every Rosh Chodesh, every Shabbos, they come to Shtachavos Lefan, they come to bow to Hashem, which means that the Neshamas are ascending on Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh from the lower Gan Eden to the upper Gan Eden. They're standing on Lavai to have delight from Hashem, and he writes Lenus to have enjoyment from the ray of the Shechina. And the famous teachings of the Zrit Shemakid on the Mishnah that says, "Kol Baalei Ashir Yetzim B'Shir and Mshochim B'Shir," that every exit and elevation, meaning you exiting one level and you being elevated to the next level, is primarily through song. And that's why the time of the Korbanis, when they bought Korbanis, they had the Levim had to sing at that time, because that represents exiting, meaning the soul of the animal is leaving the body, and it's ascending to a higher level. So similarly, the Neshamas are ascending, and they become one, Bechinas Shir, through song, just like the Nigun. Like someone who plays a melody, that there's different tempos, highs and lows, as the song changes, right?
Right.
Someone who doesn't know how to go up and down is tone deaf. He's not doesn't know when you have to raise your voice, when to lower your voice. It says we must say that when it comes to Neshamas, they're ascending from one level to the next. It happens through shir, through song. So why the singing of the angels is mentioned and it's described in the Nevi'im and the prophets, but the song of the neshamas was not mentioned at all. V'atam, even though it's for sure existing, but it's not mentioned. The Alter Rebbe answers, "V'atam mipnei sheshir amaloch nishmas bo'oznan novi." It says simply, the Nevi'im, they describe the singing of the angels because they heard it. It says, I heard this loud noise. Cheskel chapter 3, verse 12. He says over there, I heard this loud noise. So he's hearing the angels. He's hearing the sound of the angels. It's literally a voice, sound. And then Cheskel says in chapter Aleph 24, he writes, "Eshma eskol knafeim." I hear the sound of their wings, kekoil maim rabim, like the sound of lots of water, maybe gushing water. Mashmim biro yachad bekoil. They make together this noise with awe. Vaifanim berash godel, and they find him also with great sound. So the Cheskel describes the sound that he hears from the angels. On the other hand, Shiras HaNeshamas, the Song of Souls, is so refined, is so spiritual that they didn't hear it. Cheskel was unable to hear it. But why is it? Why is the song of the angels being heard and the song of the souls not being heard?
I don't know. What does he say?
He says the song of the angels is being heard by the prophets because the angels have a body.
And the neshamas don't?
When they're up there, no.
Okay, right, true.
Lumosam, on the other hand, neshamas, they're not balas gufim, they don't have bodies. Shiros and nishmas, the song is not being heard by the navi. So before the neshama is enclosed in a physical body, is above is so lofty that the singing is not being heard. He goes to explain that what is it? It's a intellectual, abstract intellectual, abstract intellect that doesn't have any geshem, any physical grasp in it. It's tzura pshuta. It's, I guess, abstract shape it has. But on the other hand, malachim are comprised of tzura and chaimer, which is shape and form. And neshamas of human beings are not. So malachim do have shape and form. They have nefesh v'guf, soul and body. The question is, if they have it, and my question is, why we don't see it? We don't see the angels. Fine, only Navi can hear the sound of the angels, but how come we don't see them?
Aaron Levine saw them.
Even Bilam.
Even Bilam saw them.
Bilam saw the
I
angels.
think certain people, special people, might see them. Who knows? Not me.
So, Moshe Kosu, the pasuk in Tilim, Kuf Daled, Oisem alochav ruchois meshorsov eishloet. The li kayal neshomis shalom, shaneshomis and bali seichel v'asogis k'manishma sa'odom, Maskelus u'maseges v'leishach likroisum b'shem ruchos v'yeshloit el hadikar legufim shalom. V'shkosav Ramban in Shar Agmul שהמלוכים יש להם גוף מייסד הרוח הפשוט ומייסד האש הפשוט. So he writes like this: the body of the angels is not a physical body like the bodies of created beings in this world. That answers my question. Why can't we see the angels if they have body and soul? So he writes that in this world, the bodies are comprised of 4 elements.
Right.
4 physical elements.
Right. Rambam writes about it.
Right? Eish, Ruach, Maim, and Afal. Right? Fire, air, water, and dirt. Dirt, soil. But the body of the angels is not. Rather, the body of the angels is comprised with the spiritual root of the elements. So it's the same element, but spiritual roots of them. Right. Because even Aish has its spiritual root, has water has its spiritual.
Right. We learned that in Tanya.
But from that itself, he writes that they're only comprised of 2 elements, not 4. And the 2 elements they are comprised of is the Yesod Aish and Yesod Ruach. The element of fire and water are much more. Element of fire and air. Right. They are much more refined. Right. They're much more refined than the other ones. But this is the spiritual root of fire and spiritual root of air. And that's what the pasuk says in Tehillim 104. Oisem alochav ruchos. He made his angels ruach. Meshosov, his servants, eish, fire. Eish lohit is hot fire. Zeu shomar. It says it's not referring to or referencing to the body of to the soul of the angels, because it's completely spiritual. And it's abstract even from the elements of fire and water, the soul of the angels. Sure. It says even with a human being, the intellectual soul, nefsha maskelet, nefsha sichlis, that is enclosed in the body, is very spiritual and abstract. Look at a person and say, oh, he has this IQ or that IQ. You can't tell. You have to test them. It's something that is abstract. Intelligence. You can't tell. You have to speak to them. You have to test them.
Just because you test it, that don't mean they have seichel.
Right.
I have my friend. He's a lawyer. He aced everything, but
he's a little bit off. He has some cues, some missing cues.
Yeah, I don't know. He's not. But anyway, he's a brilliant guy. He's top of the class.
Yeah. But socially awkward.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But he's good. He has a nice practice. He's the same age as I am.
Uh-huh. So what is the pasuk is referring to, referencing to? Pasuk is referencing to the body of the angels that is comprised of the 2 elements, fire and air.
Yeah.
It says, therefore, the malachim, they take space. Sheesh malach godel, there's a great angels, there's a big angels. Malach tav kuf shana. Ve'esh malach b'shlish olam, and there's an angel that is in the third of the world. V'ayinu aguf shalom gol kach shu b'chinas malach. The body is so big that it takes space. So it says in the writing of the rabbis, Divrei Razal, it mentioned a description of the size of the angels, and they're not speaking obviously about the nefesh, the soul of the angel. They're speaking about the bodies, that they take space. And he says that's why the Shira Shalom is that's why the singing is loud, is being heard, so much so that the Novi can hear it.
You should go. It's 7 o'clock already.
Okay. Welcome to you.